Your party has been contracted to investigate a missing farmer who hasn't been around or seen in town for a couple of weeks. So, you go to investigate his land, his farmhouse. While walking on the property, you hear the ground start to tremble beneath your feet. Then a low, chittering sound echoes in the air. Then, before you can react, the soil splits open and it emerges. A towering insect, its serrated mandibles slick with acid, its eyeless face locked onto you. There's no time to think, no time to run. The Ankheg has found its next meal, and it's you. Welcome back, adventurers, to the Monster Highlight Series, and today we're looking at the Ankheg. Here, I'm breaking down creatures from the world of Dungeons & Dragons to show you how to use them in your campaign, especially with new abilities and features in the 2024 Monster Manual. And today, we're digging deep, or maybe burrowing, literally, as we uncover the terror of the farmlands, the subterranean nightmare, the Ankheg. This beast is perfect for a low-level boss fight, where it fights alone. I imagine this as a hit-and-run, multiple interaction type of creature that maybe the party sees and is hit by at level 1, stalks down at level 2, and then maybe gets a showdown at level 2 or level 3 to fully fight and to remove this threat. So grab your torches, sharpen your blades, and let's get started. The idea, the concept of the Ankheg actually came from a rubber toy a D&D creator had while growing up, and then published in Dragon Magazine in 1977. If you don't believe me, because that is a very odd story, you can check the link in the bio where Tony Dieter Lizzie interviewed Errol Otis, the person credited for the creation of this creature before it made its way into the Monster Manual in 1977. The Ankheg is a large, burrowing monstrosity resembling a nightmarish cross between a giant ant and a praying mantis. It stands nearly 10 feet long, its chitinous body segmented and armored like plated steel. Its razor-sharp mandibles can snap through bone, and its gullet is a factory of corrosive acid. These creatures prefer open fields, dense woodlands, and, unfortunately for the locals, farmlands. Ankhegs burrow close to the surface, creating vast tunnel networks where they lie in wait, striking from below before dragging prey underground to dissolve at their leisure. An Ankheg is an ambush predator. It doesn't brawl in the open. It's going to be hunting. It burrows underneath of its victims, sensing their movement with its tremor sense before then erupting from the ground and making its surprise attack devastating. Its primary weapon is a vicious bite that not only deals heavy slashing damage, a little bit of acid damage, and then grapples its prey, locking them in place and making its next attack easier. And if that's not bad enough, the Ankheg has a secret weapon, an acid spray that can melt armor and flesh alike. This deadly ability has a recharge mechanic, so DMs should use it strategically, early and hoping to get it back again, either to weaken multiple foes early, or as a last-ditch effort to slow the party down before it retreats underground. As a dungeon master, I think the Ankheg is an amazing tool for building tension, and here's how you would make it truly terrifying in your campaign. 1, you want to foreshadow the attack, have players find collapsed tunnels, acid-scorched skeletons, and even what I would do is like maybe 120 feet away as they're walking across the farmland, they see a scarecrow, and just it tips over to the side, and then it gets sucked underground. I would use the environment, making the battle dynamic, have tunnels caving in mid-fight, force players to reposition and shift around during combat, and then I would play the creature, not intelligently, but very wise. It's not a mindless beast, it is a hunter, it has really good instincts. If it's losing, it will retreat, it will burrow away, and it's going to stalk and hunt well. Let's get into that stat block next. It has a relatively simple stat block, an armor class of 14, which generally a low-level party at level 2 or level 3 is going to hit like 50 to 65% of the time, and then its HP is 45, and if we're looking at maybe average damage of 7 or 8, then we're going to take 5, 6, 7 hits before this creature actually goes down. So we're looking at maybe a 3-round, possibly 4-round combat, where this creature, if it's alone, is only going to get 3 or 4 attacks on the party, but the party's going to get, a party of 4 would get 8, 12, 16 attacks on the creature. So as you're thinking about balancing the encounter, do some of the hit and run stuff where this creature can survive getting hit a couple of times, but the party not so much. It'll bite, it'll use its acid spray, and then it'll retreat. You might knock a party member or 2 down, and then they're going to be stopping to try to help that party member get back up, and then continue the chase. Speaking of the chase, it has a speed of 30 feet and a burrow of 10 feet. So while it's burrowing, it can create tunnels if it wants to, using its tunneler trait, which halves that speed to 5 and then creates new tunnels. But if it's just burrowing, it can move its 10 feet, and if it's dashing while burrowing, it can move 20 feet through dirt, not creating a tunnel, and hoping to get back to the tunnels that it already has. That's not something the party can do, so the hit and run is built in naturally to this Ankheg. If you're not using its burrowing speed in its interactions with the party, you're missing out on one of the major features this creature has. In addition to that, it also has dark vision and tremor sense to 60 feet. Translation, this creature always knows where your party is, even if they can't see it, allowing it to then be a very dynamic creature, making those hit and runs way more possible, popping up from underneath of a party member, getting a bite attack in, and then using the rest of its movement speed to leave, doing things like that. Next, it brings us to its actions. It has a bite attack with a +5 to its attack roll. It does have advantage on it if it's already grappling that creature, and then if it does hit, it deals 2d6 + 3 slashing and then 1d6 acid damage, which is a really good hit at these levels. And then if the target is large or smaller, it immediately is grappled, and then that creature on its turn would have to make a DC 13 check to escape that grapple. That is a pretty intense bite attack, and so we're hitting our party members with that bite. It's possible that it could knock a level 2 creature, a level 2 party member down with one attack, and if it does that, it could maybe grapple that person and attempt to drag them away, but then drop them while it then focuses on putting more of its movement into actually leaving that fight, doing things like that to just up the scare factor of these fights. It also has an acid spray attack, which recharges at the beginning of its turn when you roll a d6 and it lands on a 6. So use this ability early and then hope that it recharges in the fight to use it again. If you are using the Ankheg in a hit and run type of style, every time it leaves combat and a new initiative is rolled, it has acid spray again. So this is something you can keep starting combat with. What it does is it creates a 30-foot long, 5-foot wide line, and then everyone in that line needs to make a dex save, DC 12, and if they fail that, they're going to take 4d6 acid damage at an average of 14, which is generally enough to knock down any level 2 character. And then if they do succeed that, it'll be half of that damage. Mix all of that together, and you've got yourself one terrifying bug. And if you want to make that encounter unique, here's how I would suggest doing it. The players are sent to investigate a missing farmer. They find his abandoned homestead and massive tunnels beneath. Parts of the house could be collapsing. There could be a giant hole in the middle of his living room. As they step out into the soil, the ground will collapse. They can land in an Ankheg's lair, surrounded by scattered bone, maybe even fresh eggs. You can do this where the creature isn't home, and they see this, and they're like, oh man, let's investigate a bit and get a sense of what exactly are we looking at here. Then eventually maybe they see it and they run. The mother Ankheg could erupt from the earth, furious that she's noticing through her tremor sense that her nest has been disturbed, and now the party must escape before becoming her next meal. I would also suggest maybe doing some lair actions for this. You can give it a lair action called Burrowing Ambush. On initiative 20 at the start, the Ankheg can instantly reposition underground and emerge somewhere within 30 feet. Since this is likely an outnumbered creature, giving it some type of ability to reposition quickly would be helpful. You could put acid drips within its lair, different pockets and areas where acid is leaking from the walls or the ceiling, and if players stay in that spot, they risk taking some damage. Then you could also incorporate some cave-ins, where every few rounds or so, sections of the ceiling collapse, and it changes the battlefield in the middle of the fight. The Ankheg is a fantastic choice for a low-level boss fight, an unpredictable, ambush-hunting terror that keeps players on edge. So whether they're defending a village, investigating strange disappearances, or venturing into the monster's own nest, this creature guarantees a battle your players won't forget. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and do hit that bell for more monstrous content. And stick around because the next video is going to be the Arcanoloth. This is going to be a humanoid canine spellcaster whose challenge rating is 12, gets a good set of spells, and has some really interesting abilities that we're going to dive into. You should join us for that.